There is big news for social media. A group of all-star investors are going to be sinking $250 million to develop social media applications. Silicon Valley mogul John Doerr back and leading the charge. He's backed by some pretty impressive brands as well. Facebook, Amazon, and Comcast, just to name a few. With a little bit more on what this means for the future of social media, we bring in a social media expert, Lou Kerner from Wedbush Securities. In his past lives, he was a social media expert for Goldman Sachs and Merrill Lynch. Lou, we're glad to have you with us this morning. At $250 million doesn't sound that impressive to me. I mean, I speak with VC firms, I speak even with angel investors. It doesn't sound like a lot of money, but you beg to differ.
Right. In the world of social media, the costs of starting a company have really fallen dramatically. In
Zero,
fact,
almost.
In a lot of times it's kids at college, right? Mark Zuckerberg started the company with almost $0. So $250 million in the world of social media can actually start a whole slew of companies.
And in what sense? Is it more about marketing dollars? Because, as you say, to actually start up the firm, maybe you just need some brain power.
Well, sure. When you're growing fast, you can actually, you actually want to hire staff maybe before your revenue starts. So, you can use a few $1 million can really jumpstart, again, a lot of companies.
So what does this mean? You brought up Mark Zuckerberg. Is Facebook an example, then, of what are we going to see more Facebooks out there?
Well, I think in some ways what you're going to see is kind of, I refer to Facebook as kind of the second internet, in a lot of ways more powerful than the first, because we're all connected. So, I think a lot of money will probably go to companies that are actually leveraging the Facebook platform. And Facebook has already started, there are already companies like Zynga, which has a market cap in the private market of over $5 billion, that have basically all been created by leveraging the Facebook platform. So I think you're going to see a lot of companies that do that. But then there'll be a lot of other companies, right? There's Twitter, and there's Yelp, and there's all these other companies as well that have been started in social media that are little. Many companies are, already worth hundreds of millions or even billions of dollars.
So is this why better known, more established companies are getting involved? For example, Amazon and Comcast, two that we mentioned.
Well, sure. I mean, they're getting involved. Amazon is already involved, and they're very integrated in Facebook. If you go onto Amazon, you can already see what, they know who your friends are now if you connect through Facebook Connect, and they'll suggest some gifts to them. Amazon actually has a store already on Facebook, so you can buy diapers directly from Amazon from Facebook. So these companies appreciate and understand that social media is really the next major secular wave that's going on in media.
I mean, why pay for advertising directly if you can have your friends recommend a brand? That's what it comes down to, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think we're going through a really large secular shift where information used to be found from Google and their algorithms, and now information is being found through your friends on Facebook. And already, actually, Facebook is already driving major amounts of traffic to some of the largest websites in the world. Facebook drives more traffic to YouTube, which is the third largest website in the world, from people who tell their friends, hey, check out this video in the news feed, and then people click from Facebook to YouTube.
So word of mouth is becoming more powerful than any direct ad dollars you can spend with any clever ad agency.
In some ways, it's all interconnected, because you have companies like Starbucks, too, that are really out there leveraging social media. Starbucks has over 15 million fans on Facebook, and that enables Starbucks to, effectively have free advertising to those 15 million people by putting information into the news feed. So
in the battle of man versus machine, sort of man, and then Google being the algorithmic search, it looks like man, at least we can score up 1 point for Homo sapiens.
Yeah, no doubt. Man is, but Google's going to be a major player in search as well. Google has YouTube, Google has Gmail, Google has search. So Google's going to string a lot of these together, I think, in an application that's called Google Me. And they're going to compete and develop their own social graph that they'll pull information from. But it's not going to be as large as the social graph that Facebook's going to be able to create.
So all of us probably already know how it's affected our lives or our purchasing decisions. But what about investors? I mean, are we looking at social media as sort of in its embryonic stages? How do you see it as far as bang for the buck when you're putting money in?
Well, I think that we're still in the very early days of the Internet, right? The Internet's really only 15 years old, and social media's really only come into scale over the last several years, first with MySpace and now with Facebook. So again, I think the amount of wealth that's going to be created in social media, I think in a lot of ways is going to be comparable.
Can you put a number on it?
Well, it'll be hundreds of billions of dollars. It's really the second internet, and the companies are going to be started, like all the companies at Amazon, which is, many companies that are already worth $50 billion on the internet. I think you're going to see that kind of wealth creation again through the leveraging of social media.
So all the people who say, look, Facebook hasn't gone public, it hasn't done anything yet, you say, don't worry about that.
Don't worry about that at all. In fact, these companies don't have to go public. I think we're moving, Facebook is already generating lots and lots of cash. So Facebook may never go public. Twitter may never go public. Twitter doesn't need any more money to grow, and Twitter is going to be a ubiquitous platform as well. So I think there's also going to be a change in terms of, these companies being financed don't need to go to the public markets to fuel their growth because they're already generating lots of cash.
All right, so it sounds like you should do your best to get in with a VC group or somebody that has direct access. Luke Kerner, thanks very much. Luke Kerner joining us there from Wedbush Securities.